Well, a Thanksgiving staple is having trouble making it to the dinner table in South Louisiana this season.
As TWILA's Rebecca Buchanan shows us, a mix of drought and rain has sweet potato farmers struggling through a late harvest.
This is a #1 sweet potato.
If I had a choice, the size of potato, everything would look like this.
It's what keeps sweet potato farmer Larry Fontenot in business. Fontenot says his crop had a rough start. In the prime growing season, he lost 45 to 60 days of growth.
At the beginning of September, we were estimating about a 350 bushel yield, which is not enough for us to bring in and sustain our farm.
Fontenot says he and many other sweet potato farmers in South Louisiana took a gamble, holding off on harvesting most of their crop in hopes of better conditions.
We went from a 120-day drought to a field saturation in 48 hours. So we went from a crawl, a slow-paced harvest, but we were advancing to where in the last 2 weeks we haven't harvested anything at all.
Muddy conditions make harvesting difficult, but they have to get the sweet potatoes out of the field. The drought followed by a foot of rain is what Fontenot calls a recipe for a rotten potato.
We see real good sweet potatoes out there in the field. They're still holding on, they're not rotting, and so far we think we're okay. You will have some loss, you will have some decay. Starting to get some rot here. Starting to get some decay, not good. Unfortunately, the dry conditions were bad. Now the wet conditions have made it worse.
With 1/3 of South Louisiana's sweet potatoes still on the ground, Fontenot is getting nervous. They won't get them out in time.
November is always a busy time at a packing shed because the Thanksgiving holiday is the biggest movement of sweet potatoes. Everybody needs to get what they have left in the field to bring it into the house and to sell it, and you can't afford to lose 1/3 of your crop, not with the production costs as high as they are this year.
The weather and cost of production aren't the only challenges for sweet potato farmers this year.
We're scared. We're having to store sweet potatoes that normally we don't store at this time of the year.
Stacks of sweet potatoes from floor to ceiling line Larry's shed after the nearest sweet potato processing plant closed earlier this year.
That plant took about 45% of the sweet potatoes that was grown on this farm and other farms like ours.
As a result, Larry cut his sweet potato production from more than 200 acres to about 120 acres.
We're not sure how that's going to pan out, and the dollar value of these potatoes, we won't realize that until sometimes in the month of January and February. We have been able to get contracts with the French fry facility in Delhi, Louisiana.
Fontenot is optimistic. Looking through the rows, he says quality is high.
Another beautiful hill of potatoes.
So for now, it's a race against the rain and the rot it brings with it. At E&L Produce, I'm Rebecca Buchanan for This Week in Louisiana Agriculture.
In 2014, the Louisiana sweet potato industry had a $117 million impact on the state's economy.